From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News Weekend Edition.
Good evening and welcome to our Saturday edition of the Fbx Evening News. I'm Katie Looper. Our top story tonight. 2 bodies were found by authorities in separate areas of town yesterday. Today, authorities reportedly identified both. The first body, found early yesterday morning near UAF, has been identified as 30-year-old Evan B. Charles of Emonuk. Another male was discovered later in the afternoon on a bike trail off the Steese Highway. Police have identified him as 62-year-old Donald Stickman of Fairbanks. It appears both died of exposure to the cold temperatures. All marijuana concentrates, including edibles, would be illegal under a measure proposed by the Fairbanks Senator Pete Kelly. Monty Bowen has more.
In a Senate Finance Committee hearing yesterday, Senator Kelly said that when Alaskans approved the legalization of marijuana, there were some things that were not obvious.
We've heard a lot around this table about what the people of Alaska were thinking or not thinking when they voted on the marijuana initiative. And I don't claim to know what they were thinking, but I've got a pretty good idea what they weren't thinking. And they did not want to put their kids in danger, and I think possibly grave danger. I'm referring to concentrates.
Kelly said when it comes to what the people voted on, they were thinking of the green leafy plant.
Honestly, when it comes to what the people voted on, I don't think they were considering concentrates. For a couple of reasons. Concentrates are a fairly new phenomenon in the world. And for another reason, it wasn't on the ballot language.
Kelly's amendment to criminalize all marijuana concentrates, including edibles, as soon as the constitutional protection for the voter-approved initiative expires, was approved. It's a move that a pro-pot group said will kill legalized marijuana before it even gets off the ground. This is Monty Bowen reporting.
A Nulata man has been indicted by a Fairbanks grand jury on multiple counts of sexual assault. 32-year-old Joseph George Solomon faces 4 counts in both the first and second degree. According to the indictment, the alleged assault occurred in May of 2014 in Nulato, when Solomon is said to have raped an incapacitated victim. Solomon was arraigned late last month in Fairbanks District Court. The U.S. Air Force will soon hold public meetings to begin the formal process of stationing F-35 fighter jets at Eielson Air Force Base. Eielson is listed as the preferred candidate to house the Air Force's next-generation fighter aircraft. The final decision is expected sometime next year, but there's a big question as to when this new military fighter will be fully ready for action. The F-35 is more technologically advanced than any other fighter, but there have been ongoing issues with it. One of the biggest has to do with training and maintaining F-35 units.
Full development of that capability will come at full operational capability and then with follow-on software loads. So the biggest hurdle to get over between now and then in 2021 that could affect basing beyond the training bases is this maintenance manpower issue. This is a real issue for us.
We want to make sure that our air assets are strong, robust, and fully capable. That's what the F-35s will provide.
The Air Force will conduct public scoping meetings March 24th through the 26th in North Pole, Fairbanks, and Delta Junction from 6 to 8 p.m. each night. Alaska wildfire fighters are preparing for an early fire season this summer. Instructors are predicting sooner than usual confrontations with forest fires due to the recent unusually warm temperatures. Wildland fire teachers are responding by starting classes ahead of schedule in rural communities as well as the interior. The projected early start for forest fires in Alaska means there will be an extra demand for professional firefighters. Wildland fire professor Louis Silas says the University of Alaska Fairbanks and the Alaska Division of Forestry are still looking for firefighting students.
Yeah, I know I just got done with a round of training up in Fort Yukon. The university is putting on a lot of classes, getting crews hired. So there's a lot of training going on in preparation for the upcoming season. I believe crews are going to start working pretty soon, and so that all involves a lot of training. And so that's kind of what we've been doing too.
We'll have more information about the early fire season and what it means for Alaska next week. And when we come back, a large herd of bison are being moved to a new location to help grow their numbers. Also, Joy Elementary students are teaming up with the Fairbanks Art Association to create an elaborate display. Stay with us. Welcome back. One of the most majestic creatures in the world is the bison, more commonly known as the buffalo. Alaska is home to a variety of bison, and now a large herd will be transferred to help them grow their numbers. Mike Schultz has more.
Larger than a normal buffalo from Canada. And since then, these animals have been living down south of Anchorage.
Wood bison were present in Alaska for tens of thousands of years, and they eventually disappeared in the early 1900s. The last sighting was in the early 1920s. Since then, Alaska has been without a grazer, which is one of the components of the ecosystem. Wood bison disappeared about the same time muskox did. Muskox were brought back to Alaska in the 1970s. About 23 years ago, the concept came up to restore wood bison to Alaska, and this year it's going to happen.
The number is a little over 130, and the goal is to move some of these creatures to the southwest part of Alaska.
And 100 of those are going to fly to the village of Shagaluk early in March on C-130 Hercules. As soon as the weather is good after March 22nd, we can fly them out. The restoration of wood bison to Alaska was based on the fact that the habitat is still there. Humans may have played a role in them going extinct in the first place, and because the animals are still available and Canada supports an international wood bison recovery effort. So the state of Alaska has taken on the responsibility of bringing them back to the state.
The idea behind this project is to protect the animals and allow them to increase their numbers.
Wood bison are currently on the endangered species list as threatened species. However, the state worked with the federal government to get a special rule under the Endangered Species Act, which designates wood bison in Alaska as a non-essential experimental population. What that means, among other things, is that the special protections that go along with the threatened species are not needed for wood bison, and that the special rule does allow hunting and other forms of take as needed to manage these animals. We also developed a management plan with representatives from Anchorage, Fairbanks, and the 4 villages in that area to determine how hunting will be allowed when the herd is large enough to provide a harvest.
Kathy says if everything goes right, she expects the herd will adapt and begin growing within 5 to 15 years. I'm Mike Schultz reporting.
The Fairbanks Arts Association and the Alaska State Council on the Arts both foster arts for Alaskans through education, grants, and services. FAA matches artists to schools, and this year, artist-in-resident Margaret Donay joined students at Joy Elementary for an expressive permanent display. Amy Chasse reports.
Joy School Elementary students line up to await the revealing of a colorful mosaic made involving every kid in school. The students take in their final piece after a month of hard work.
We did the middle part of the project, and it's all made out of a lot of chipped glass, and it's sprouted together.
Art teacher Margaret Donay guided students from start to finish.
The 5th and 6th graders did all the drawing and planning. The 4th graders have made all these tiles that are going to be my border for it. Every kid in the school is going to get to sign a jewel, and so everybody will have their signature on it.
This is some of the pictures, or the picture that we're copying. So we find an area that will fit, and then we start gluing them.
The vibrant piece is roughly 3.5 by 6 feet and will hang in the commons area of the school. Within the kaleidoscope of colors, look closely and you'll see many details.
Here's a swan right here, and here's a birch tree. Here's Creamer's Field, Creamer's Dairy, and there's some birds around.
Extended Learning Program teacher Melanie Hinsman is credited for organizing the grant-funded project